Hello, and welcome once again to the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Angel, coming to you live on this beautiful day, Tuesday. It's the end of the month, May 31st. Listen, I hope you guys had a great month of May and stuff for many entrepreneurs out there. And I'm super excited and I'm so glad and honored to be here once again on this channel. And listen, speaking of channel, if you don't mind, please show your support, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot. And listen, I'll be so glad that you can go ahead and like this video, give us a comment, because today we have a special guest here, okay? And I am so honored to have her here today. Her name is Fiona Valentine. And listen, today we are going to have her talking about many things. She's an artist, all right, and she has some great content. So I want you guys to tune in, listen carefully, because she not only is an artist, she also coaches artists. Okay, we're gonna get into all of that, and we're gonna be talking about today an important topic, and it's how to turn your creative hobby into a profitable business. Okay, we're talking about someone that already went through that avenue. Having she already had the ability to figure it out how to get that creative hobby into a business, and we'll be talking about that here. So guys, go ahead and follow me on all those channels, and also the auto download is going to be available on the Anchor Podcast, Google Podcasts, you name it, iHeartRadio, all of them. So wherever you get a podcast, go ahead and download it there. If you're listening right now to this recording on the download of one of those uh, platforms, thank you so much for taking your time to download this podcast. And please, if you have any spare time, write me a review also on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it, because those reviews for podcasters, those help our podcasts get more looks right on Google and other platforms. So go ahead and leave a review, and I appreciate it. Okay, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring her on, Miss Fiona. Hello, how are you?
Hello. Good to see you, Angel.
Yes, thank you. And it's good to see you, Fiona. Thank you for your time. I know you are all the way in Australia, right? Melbourne? Is that correct?
That's right.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here, Fiona. Listen, let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we get into the business aspect, I know you coach, you're a business coach for artists and whatnot, and that's fantastic. I want to learn so much on how you got started and everything. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Just talk about your story. I know that you shared with me part of your story. You've been through all the poverty, and you've seen all aspects of life, but I think deep down inside, Fiona had some type of passion. She had a determination, right? You were determined to overcome many obstacles. Talk to us about that and your story in Africa and everything. You've been to all parts around the world.
Yeah, I did go to Africa fairly young, and I had some art experience in high school, but I actually went to West Africa to teach children how to read. And I thought I'd be there for about 6 months. I ended up being there for a year. And I met my husband, who's from the States, during that time. And he
Okay.
eventually followed me back to Australia. We got married. We ended up living in Texas for a while. Then we lived in Africa together. And we were in a very remote village, a mud village, working with nomads at the time. And we had a new baby, learning languages, having a lot of visitors to our home, doing without running water and electricity. So being up close and personal with pain and suffering on a daily basis really made me feel like my creativity was frivolous and
Okay.
self-indulgent, and it just didn't seem to fit. I didn't understand, and I didn't have anybody to help me see the women around me were still enjoying their creativity even if they didn't have much.
Okay.
And I'm saying, because it's a healthy way to live. So I didn't really understand that for a long time. It wasn't until we were back in Australia, I had 2 children, been homeschooling for a while, that I really recovered my creativity and saw this of it. I did some gardening, I did some quilting, and then eventually found my way back to painting. And by that time, I was really convinced about how important creativity is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
So
after you
I dove
have
back
all
in.
those, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So no, because I want to get into
Is there
and thank you for sharing that stories. Okay, that's awesome. I know this. I think it's a little bit delayed with the Wi-Fi and whatnot. Uh, I know probably on your end has the Wi-Fi, but so you met your husband and everything, and you go to Africa and you live right, of course, a whole different lifestyle now. So how did you come up with wanting to be like the artist? That was the artist thing already in you or something, and then you developed it as you went, or
well, it had my schools, and I had some quite good training. And I'd always meant to sort of get back to painting and drawing, but it wasn't really until my 30s that I really made time and decided this is important and I'm really going to pursue this. Not long after that, I'd been homeschooling my children and they went to school, and it was
okay,
time for me to go back to work. I got an admin job and I learned a lot of business skills in that role. I did a diploma of business while I was there. But all the time I was really wanting to be home painting. So I decided I had to figure out a way to make this work, to turn this into a business. So
yeah,
in the end, what I did was I started teaching children to learn how to paint. Having a teaching background, that made sense to me. But a lot of it was to do with mindset things that I think a lot of people have, that it's hard to make money as an artist. You can't really do it. And, artists starve. Everybody knows that. Well, it's not true. There are plenty of artists who have successful business, but it's learning to understand that you're not selling out if you start selling your art, but you do need to approach it like a business and apply your creativity to your entrepreneurial skills, just like you
right,
apply your creativity to your painting.
exactly.
So that was a whole learning curve for me. That's what came next.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. So how does someone like, for example, you I know you do business coaching. So how do you what's the approach like? How does someone maybe start coaching with you with artists? Because I see artists sometimes artists to me I'm not an expert in it, but to me artists are more like freelancers. Like they maybe work individually. So the concept of you coaching someone, right? How do you do the coaching? How do you what's the strategy behind that?
So I help them to exactly, strategy is the word for it, to talk through their goals and personalize a program. So Profitable Artist Method is a 90-day program, and it has three aspects to it: clarity, creativity, and connection. And I help people to find clarity. What is it that you really want to do? Painting or your creative hobby. What is it that you really love about it? So maybe you really love painting pet portraits. Maybe you're really excited about watercolor florals or landscape painting. Whatever your thing is, ask
Okay.
yourself how much time you want to, how much money you took. And now that you know that thing that you love to do, you're looking for where those three things come together, where they overlap, and how to create your highest value offer. So many artists try to sell low ticket things, thinking it's easier to sell something with a lower tag. It's actually not true. It's just as much work. And
Yeah.
there's a perception thing too. If something's too cheap, it doesn't people aren't sure that it's really valuable. So when you understand your value as an artist, you can make this plan and you can come up with your highest value offer. Once we've
Okay.
figured that out, I help artists to work on a collection basis where they release 4 collections a year, themed paintings, and they connect that art with collectors. Those are people who love what they do and they can't wait to buy it. And
Okay.
you connect by building a marketing ecosystem, a website, an email list, and social media presence. And you want all of that working together. So it's telling this clear story about the value of your art and what it's going to mean for your collectors to have it in their home, their place of work. So
Right.
during these 90 days, we go through weekly sessions and I take them this method.
Okay. because I think you said something very important, especially now that we have a lot of platforms, social media, right? So how does someone? I mean, this you just create a page? By the way, I know you have a page that's called the Confident Artist Facebook group, correct?
That's right. Yeah, Facebook group
Okay, talk to us about the
for
Facebook group.
artists and their creativity. Yeah. So this
Yeah,
Facebook group is for people who are wanting to build a creative habit, make beautiful art, and learn the art of selling art. For a lot of artists, we're working alone in our studio. So having a place where you can find your tribe, find people who are making and sharing what's on their easel, talking about their favorite paint, or
yeah.
asking questions of each other, and learn how to share your art with the world. That's what this group does. It's a really great supportive place for learning and interacting with other artists.
Okay,
Come and join
that's
us.
awesome. Yeah. So, and that same topic with social media. How does someone sell on social media, right? Facebook. How does someone make a profit out of that? Like, what's the basic about that?
Yeah. And that's where your marketing ecosystem comes. When you
Okay.
build that, when you understand who your art's for, your art's not for everybody. There are so many different ways to make art, and you're figuring out who you are, what you like to make, and then who is going to love that too? Who's going to really enjoy your art and can afford to pay for it? That's a
Yeah.
really important piece because a lot of people may love art, but they may not be able to afford it, which means they may be
Exactly.
admirers, they may be fans, but they're not your ideal collectors. They're not who you're aiming at. So when you know what you're making and who you are and who it's for, then that
Okay.
helps your messaging be really clear. And you can build that relationship through, showing videos of your work and having really clear call to action where people can click on the link in your bio and get onto your mailing list so that you
Yeah.
can tell them when your new work is going to be released.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where you need the whole system. You need the website, the email, and
Yeah.
the social.
Perfect. That makes sense. So, should gallery representation be a goal? Going out to art galleries, should that be something someone should consider as a goal?
It's a good question because a lot of people think there are a whole bunch of things they need to sell art, gallery representation being one of them, perhaps a
Yeah.
fine art degree or awards in art shows. But those things can be very difficult to chase and they may or may not be the right thing for you. We have an amazing opportunity with the internet. So I would say whether
Yeah.
you have gallery representation or not, build your own independent platform. Get really clear on who you are, build that marketing ecosystem, get the productivity happening in your studio so you're connecting, directly with your collectors. If you're selling through a gallery, there's going to be a 50% commission. That's pretty standard.
Oh,
When you're
okay.
selling directly, you're not paying anybody to do that. So there's a
True.
big positive. So I'm not against gallery representation. If you have a gallery representing you, that's a great thing. But I do think you should do that in conjunction with selling directly to your collectors.
Ah, that makes sense. I did not know that. See, there's a commission fee, obviously, because you're using their area, maybe their platform. So it's like a rent.
That's
You have to
right.
pay a rent to use their store or
And they're
whatever.
marketing for you. They're doing a lot for you.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, that makes
And I
sense. I
work
did not
with
know
my
that.
clients who already have galleries to help them do both and build a win-win situation where they're respecting the gallery and the gallery understands what they're doing and that you're helping market each other and
Yeah.
clear understanding that the pricing is going to be consistent, and if a buyer comes to you from the gallery, you're going to pay the gallery the commission, but you're also selling directly and that's not a commission to the gallery. So you work out a relationship where you of trust and
Right.
mutual benefit.
Okay. I have a personal question. Like, what makes
Yeah.
an artwork so special? I mean, let's imagine in the history of art that from that we probably could know, like the Mona Lisa, right? You see, the image of a woman, but it was an art that it became so famous. Like, what do you think that there maybe there's a piece of art out there that we don't know of that could be that big? Like, what makes a piece of art so special?
There's a whole lot of factors, and sometimes it's just hype and sometimes it's that it was just really amazing. But there's probably just as much really amazing art that's never been discovered. But there's something in human nature that likes the familiar. And so some great become very famous. That's sort of a self perpetuating thing because we
Okay.
recognize it and much has been made of it. But when you're selling directly to collectors, that whole trying to be famous or make fantastic art can feel like a lot
Yeah.
of pressure. And really, whatever kind of art appeals to you, there are going to be enough collectors who love it too. I like to think of art like a forest, like a whole ecosystem where you've got the huge trees. In our forests here, we have these giant eucalypts called mountain ash. They're just beautiful. But that big canopy trees are not the only part of the forest. Tree ferns, there are smaller saplings, bushes, and then you go down to the bracken and the fern and the moss and the leaf litter and the
Yeah.
sticks. And they're all a really important and special part of the ecosystem. So maybe you're moss, maybe you're a fern, maybe you're bracken or a tiny bird, not a great big canopied mountain ash tree.
Yeah.
But without you, the forest isn't a forest. So try not to feel that sort of or give in to that imposter syndrome that says, oh, you're not good enough and, all that sort of thing. And just be you and trust
Yeah,
that there are
exactly.
people out there who are going to love you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So on your website, I know you have for people when they go on the website, talk about a little bit about your website. Well, what can they expect? Because I know you have
Yeah,
workshops, you have online coaching, you have online courses. So talk about the benefits of each of those.
sure. So when you land on my website, fionavalentine.com, you'll see that there's a free guide on how to start selling your art. And that talks about some of the things we've been talking about today. So you can jump and grab that. Also
Yeah.
see a tab called the Business School, and that's really just talking about the 3 steps. 1, download the guide. Number 2, I have a 1-hour workshop talking about how to make a business from your creative hobby. And then
Okay.
my signature program is the Profitable Artist Method, and that's the 90-day coaching program where I help you build your portfolio of paintings and your business at the same time. I also work with businesses. Although I'm a business coach for artists, I'm also an art coach for businesses. And I help professionals and businesses to build the soft skills required for creativity and innovation.
Okay.
Change management and continuous improvement require a lot of creativity. But did
Yeah.
you know that 50% of people don't even think they're creative?
That's true.
But it's true.
Yeah.
100% of humans are creative just by being born, but maybe they don't recognize it, maybe they haven't developed it. And that's where I come in. So I teach a drawing workshop, even
Okay.
for people who can't draw stick figures. So they can see, wow, this is a skill I can learn. And I teach them how exercising your creativity like that helps build these neural pathways in your brain. And the first time you do it, it feels really, really bad.
Yeah.
But then these pathways get stronger and stronger, and pretty soon you can do so much more. It's like when you learn to drive. First time, it's like so scary and too many things to think about, especially if you're
Yeah.
driving a map. But now, we can drive and have a conversation at the same time, and we hardly think about it. It
Okay.
just happens. Well, that happens
Yeah.
with any other skill. So if you practice creativity, those neural pathways become available for problem solving no matter what industry you're working in. So you'll
Right.
find that on the website too.
Okay, that's great. No, that's great that you also work for businesses as well, corporations and whatnot as well. That's awesome. So, and your art is like, because I'm thinking like, of course, a lot of kids, maybe a lot of youth, young adults that maybe they want to do the iPad kind of drawing thing, technology thing versus the
Yeah.
old, wet paint and whatnot. Is that your style? Like, have you experienced both of them?
I don't work digitally. I love the hands-on, tactile,
Okay,
moving the
hands
brush,
on.
moving the paint. Yeah, and so I
Yeah,
teach kids that way too, because if you understand how to do it with your hands, it only enhances the digital experience. And there's something really amazing about interacting with art outside of a screen. When it's in person, there's an impact, the texture,
Definitely.
the colors. There's just something about the artist's experience of whatever place or person or still life they've painted that you experience when you stand in front of it real, not just on a screen. It's amazing the things we can do digitally now. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic, but that's not the area that gets me excited. It's
Yeah.
actual paint.
It is. Yeah. It takes away that natural touch, I think, from having that the old style, painting and whatnot. So, and speaking of that, like the youth and all, like if someone wants to encourage their son or their daughter to, start painting and discovering maybe a talent that they didn't even know that they had, like, what do you suggest they can do?
I suggest they keep it simple and that they work with them. There's an artist called Kathy Barbro who has a website. I think it's called Art for Kids or something, and she makes really simple uh, drawing templates for kids. And I used them in my kids' class for years because they were just the right balance between too easy and too hard. And they taught
Right.
observation skills. When we're kids, we all draw and it's fun. And then we get to about 9 and we stop drawing symbolically and start to have an interest usually in drawing more
True.
realistically. And if we get a little bit of training on how to do that, how to take a 3-dimensional world and represent it on a 2-dimensional paper or canvas,
Yeah.
if we start to learn those skills, then we feel good about it and we can continue. If we don't get any training, it's tempting to think, oh, it's not good art. And people give up at that point. And so
That's
it's a
true.
really key time when kids are getting to around about 9. So I would encourage parents to encourage creativity in their kids and find out a little bit, do some things with them to help them learn some basic skills so that they've got that for the rest of their life and they're not carrying around the idea that, oh, I'm just not good at this. When in actual fact, as
Yeah.
I tell my students, just add the word yet. I'm not good at it yet. It's learnable.
Yeah. It's a practice. Keep practicing. That's funny because my daughter right now, she's 10, and that's about the age that she
Mm,
already, with the tablet and the phone and YouTube, it's I see where it's
yeah.
disappeared, and it makes sense because before she was always one. I want crayons, I want to color, when she was 4 or 5 and 6, but now that she's getting like to that pre-teen age, it's I can see that she has no desire for it like she used to. That makes sense.
Right. And you can guide them and help them rediscover that interest off screen. It's so good for their mental health as they go into their teenage years, just cutting down on that
Yeah.
screen time and helping them. There are some really great manga artists, sort of cartoon style people portrait training.
Okay.
There are books online that you can find. Now, some of them I would not recommend for teenagers or especially for 10-year-olds, but some of them
Yeah.
are wholesome, I would say. And so I used some of those in my kids' classes with those who were getting older and had an interest in, and it really helped bridge that interest with things they'd seen online, but still actually building skills with paper and pencil. And I just think it's
Uh,
really healthy for them if we can
yeah.
put something in front of them that grabs their attention and materials available. Even try doing some things themselves where it's almost able and they're going to want to pick it up and have a go.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. And also on your Facebook page, can put here, people can follow you on your Facebook page at Fiona Valentine, and also the Facebook group, the Confident Artist Facebook group. I'm gonna have that link down there on the video description so that people could go ahead and join. Also on your website, they could go in your
Okay.
website. Do you have any art showings like in
Yeah.
your social media accounts that we could see?
Yeah. On Instagram, Fiona Valentine Artist, you can see my post there, and there are some paintings from time to time, as well as lots of tips on how to sell your art online.
Oh, nice, on Instagram. Okay, I'm definitely gonna follow you
Yeah.
also on Instagram. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Fiona. I am so honored to have you here, and thank you for giving us all this knowledge and how to make your creativity out of a profitable business. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Angel. Thank you for having me guest and the conversation. Hope you get it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fiona. You take care of yourself. Blessings to you and your family, and good luck
You
in
too.
everything that you keep doing in your art. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you. All right, guys. So there you have it, guys. Look her up, Fiona Valentine, and also on the Facebook page, the Confident Artist Facebook group. So if you're into any art at all, even the traditional art, anything like that, and her website, I'm gonna have all the links and the descriptions below, so you could go ahead and follow her on her social media accounts. Okay. Also, guys, before we leave, you see the link there, forlife.com/Santos Family. If you guys are into any natural supplements, anything for immune system, protein shakes, Gold Factor. This is one of my favorite right here. I recommend you go to that website, look up Gold Factor. I love this thing. This is something that I take for in the immune system. Okay, and it's in the liquid. I take it every morning. Take my 2 3 ounces, and we're good to go. So go ahead and look up the website there, and follow me on that website, and I appreciate it. So guys, before we leave, I want to leave you with a positive note as always. One of my favorite scriptures. It was actually today's scripture, and it says in Hebrews 6:10. It says, "God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them." All right, folks. So there you have it. Thank you again for joining the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I will see you on the next episode. God bless and take care. Bye.